Watching the Red Sox this week.
Good evening. Welcome to Southbridge Town Council meeting on Monday, August 26, 2019. This meeting is following the joint school committee town council meeting that was at 7 p.m. Please rise again for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councillor Adams?
Present.
Councillor Catrona?
Present.
Councillor Daniel?
Present.
Councillor Jovan?
Present.
Councillor Lazo?
Here.
Councillor Manna? Present. Councillor Marquetti?
Present.
Councillor Nash?
Present.
Councillor Steves?
Present.
All members present. Item 3A, consider and accept the council of the whole minutes Thursday, August 1st, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Errors, corrections, omissions. I'd like to thank Vice Chairman Daniel for taking the minutes at that meeting. Well done. Thank you very much. Even though it was last minute, I apologize for that, last minute. But okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Council Lazo, are you abstaining from this?
Abstention.
Thank you. So be 8 in favor, 1 abstention. Consider and accept the town council minutes of Monday, August 5th, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any errors, corrections, omissions? Council Steves.
There's a couple of points where Councillor Catrona's name is misspelled under items number 11, 27, and 28.
Oh, yeah.
Also, under item number 11, if I recall correctly, Councillor Lazo voted no on this one. It says in the text that he said he was going to, and I recall that he did. So it should have been a 5-4 vote, not a 6-3 vote, if I remember correctly. You did vote in one, that didn't you, Scott?
Yes.
And
So that should be a 5-4 vote?
yeah, it should be 5-4 vote. And there's the middle of the last paragraph talks about the town manager and treasurer, should be treasurer. And over on item number 29, at the very end, there's a kind of confusion here. It says, talks about Heather talking about it's showing indications of failure and it's getting to the point where it could fall at any time. And then it says, he asked, but I have no idea who this he person is in a sentence. Although at that, somewhere right around there, I mentioned that I had seen another wall that had collapsed. It was a very similar situation. But I don't remember if I was the one who asked that, if there was a risk to other infrastructure or not. And also the two votes for that item and the one below it say 6-9. It should be 6-3.
6-3. Okay. Any further corrections, omissions? Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Agenda item number 30 also shows it by 6-9. The motion carries, so it should be 6-3 for agenda item number 30.
Yeah, she did. He stated that.
Oh, he did state that?
He did
Oh,
state
I only heard 29.
Yeah.
My apologies. That's all. Thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor as amended? Opposed? Unanimous. So. Subcommittee reports. General Government, Council Steves.
Yes, we had a meeting on Wednesday the 21st where we talked about a variety of different issues. The only one that's currently on our agenda for tonight is number 16. I unfortunately have not finished the minutes yet, so I can't give you more details at the moment.
Thank you.
We do not have one scheduled.
Department of Public Works, Council Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, DPW Subcommittee has held no meetings since our last full council meeting. I believe draft minutes from July 29th were already distributed, and we do have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Thank you. This coming Tuesday, the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Plan and Development, Education and Human Services, Council Lazo.
No report at this time, no meeting scheduled.
Plan and Development, Council Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. We had a P&D meeting on the 20th of August. Agenda items 9, 12, and 15 are tonight's agenda. Also, our next meeting is set for September 3rd at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Protection of Persons Property, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no meeting minutes. I haven't had any meetings recently. I do have a scheduled meeting for September 3rd at 7 PM.
Thank you. Chairman's announcements, I have no announcements right at this time. Town manager announcements?
Yeah, a couple of quick announcements. One is from Whitewater, that's who runs our water system. Southbridge Charlton American Optical will be performing their annual operation and maintenance inside their facility on Wednesday, September 18th, 2019 at approximately 9 p.m. The location which will be affected will be around the Mechanic Street area in Southbridge. So if you live in that area, you want to run your water for a minute or so to let the brown out of it, and it'll be back to normal. So just run the tap and we'll take care of it for you. Another one is from Charter, some positive news. Dear municipal official, as Charter locally known as Spectrum, we continue to enhance our services, offer more entertainment choices, and deliver the best value for our customers. Like every business, periodically, Charter reviews its pricing and makes occasional price adjustments. As a result, customers will be notified of the following price adjustments through bill messaging. Effective on or after September 10th, 2019, pricing will be adjusted for unreturned equipment as followed. Spectrum receiver, $123, it's going down to $103, a $20 reduction, and cable card, $22, is going down to $20. Third announcement is just some positive news from the State Department of Housing and Community Development. As you all know, we applied for a CDB block mini entitlement. We call it a block grant. It says, Mr. Sangelo, on behalf of the Governor Charles D. Baker and Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, I am pleased to award the town of Southbridge in fiscal year 2019 mini entitlement program grant in the amount of up to $825,000 from the Massachusetts Community Development Block Grant CDBG program. Congratulations on being one of the successful applicants. The rest is just kind of in-house details, but good news that the grant is official. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Presentation swearing in, we have none this evening. Citizens forum, is there anyone that wishes to address the town council? Anyone? Seeing none. It's been asked, because we have a party in here, if we could move item 15? Right. Item 15 to be considered at this time to be addressed.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? And yes, all present. Item 15, vote to ratify change order number 3, B&W paving for the Central Street parking lot to decrease the contract by $14,655.25, which is a 35% credit for comprised paving items, reducing the B&B paving contract by $795,020.50 to $780,365.26. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Councilor Steve.
Just a clarification, first of all, that should read reducing contract from $795,000, not by $795,000. We're talking about that the same.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
From. All right. From, okay. Unanimous consent to change that? Okay.
It would be nice if we were reducing it by
Yeah,
$795,000,
okay.
but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Mr. Chair,
Council
also, Mr. Chair, thank you. It shouldn't be comprised, it should be compromised as well.
Okay.
Right.
Compromised. Thank you. All set to change that, unanimous consent?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, discussion. Councilor Adams.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Came through P&D on the 20th of August, unanimous vote 3-0 on it. I know the town manager will speak about this a little bit, and I know we have Peg here as well to speak upon this, but this was widely publicized within the council itself of B&W paving, laying asphalt on wet surface, I should say. And this is part of the negotiation through the town manager between town manager and B&W. So also I'd like to, before I forget that too, it says reducing the B and B paving should be and W.
Oh, right.
I
Okay.
just read that, I said the B and B, got it. Anyways, I know the town manager will probably have a little bit more, but this came through us on the 20th and voted 3-0.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councilor Adams, for your comments about this. This is obviously, we're talking about the Central Street parking lot. The general contractor is here tonight to explain it more in detail. but when the general contractor doing the paving did the work, as the chair of the committee said, they paved during a period of time when there was some rain going on that had an impact on the pavement. I want to thank our contractor and our DPW staff for having caught this very quickly. The pavement was tested, and we found that it didn't meet the quality standards that we expected. The DPW director and the contracting company both thought there should be a 25% reduction in the price of this particular job. I was fortunate enough to call the subcontractor and negotiate this with us, and we got a 35% credit, which everybody seemed to be very pleased with. So I think that will result in a lower cost project, but it may result at the end of the lifespan of this parking lot, may result in crack sealing being done faster or quicker. So we believe that it's a good resolution to the problem. And of course, the general contractor is here to comment as well, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Dean, come on up.
Points of clarification. Thank you for correcting the motion. More importantly, I also want to correct, we have GCG Associates, our resident engineers. We have the president, Mike Carter, here to speak with you. And the construction company is not a subcontracted, it's our contracted construction company. So come on up.
Again, my name is Mike Carter from GCG Associates. We are the consulting engineer for the project. We're the ones who put the project out to bid for you. It was designed by PAR, and we took that over and we put it out to bid. And I'm here to basically tonight answer any questions or concerns you have with what happened. We're not the contractor. We were actually we're responsible for administering the project and for part-time inspection as deemed necessary during construction. The paving was put down the week of June 25th. Contractor was attempting to put the paving down the week before. And as I'm sure you all remember, June, May, April, it rained significantly, and we kept putting them off. There's memos and everything and emails that have been distributed to some of the town people that demonstrate that we directed them Monday, the 24th, not to pave. We directed them the 25th not to pave. They went ahead and paved without us. We found out about it in midday and directed them to call them by phone, by email to stop pavement. They went ahead with it. And so this is the first time it's ever happened in my 35 career that I've had a contractor pave when you've directed them not to. So this isn't a normal event. So the procedure, if you follow Mass DOT guidelines, is you do testing cores to try to determine the condition of the asphalt. Some of the cores were fine, some were not fine. There was 4 cores done. Two were okay, 2 were not okay. The long-term impact, which is the most important thing, is the good thing is it wasn't pouring hard that day. You don't want to put pavement down on water. Pavement comes in at about 300 degrees, so if there's a little bit of moisture on the binder cores, it'll evaporate immediately. We weren't there that day. I don't believe it was represented that it was really raining hard. So as your town manager indicated, the minimum that Mass DOT recommends is that you pay 75% and get a 25% reduction. As he indicated, you were able to negotiate a 10% down to 35%. There is a possibility, this road, actually it's not a road, it's a parking lot. So from your perspective, I would be more concerned if it was a roadway with high traffic like your main street and we get like heavy trucks going in on it and a lot of trucks stopping hard. This is a parking lot, so you're basically getting automobiles that come in and turn and park on the parking lot. So the longevity probably won't make a big difference, but it wasn't appropriate. What he did was wrong, and the best method was to give you a credit, so if there is any need in the future, you could repair it that way.
Council Steves.
Thank you. Quick question, is it, one of the things that came up during the subcommittee discussion that I was curious about, and several of us were, if you could kind of summarize how you vetted B&W paving, what's your process?
Sure. So any public job that's bid in Massachusetts, they are required to give us references.
Yeah.
We call the references, and we have a series of questions, about 10 to 15 questions that we go down. Quality of his work, does he like change orders? Is he responsible? How's his schedule? His quality of work? And there's a whole list. And so we go through that list for at least 3. A lot of times, a lot of the contractors that bid our projects. I've had experience before, so I already know what's going. I have never worked with them before. They're actually out of Connecticut, and in the process of vetting them, I spoke to the office manager a couple times. I believe her name was Betty. She's saying, you know, you don't seem to have any Massachusetts work, but she had plenty of Connecticut DOT, so that led me, you know, so that's Mass DOT, Connecticut DOT. They're in the paving business, so that's how we vetted them.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Weiser?
You said earlier that, and I might have heard it wrong, that you had part-time inspectors on the site?
Yeah, so our contract budgeted for 160 hours of oversight, if you looked at our contract. So when I say part-time, we decide when it's time to go out, like when they're putting pipe work in the ground that you can't see, when they backfill, we're there. Are we there when they're you saw the little bricks they put out there? Are we there to watch them put all the bricks in? No, because it's not financially.
Were they on site for compaction?
On the site when they were doing the gravel and the
Right, did
the
they test the
binder.
compaction under the pavement?
For the binder, I believe we were there. We were there when we did the binder, I believe. I'd have to go back and check the records. Well, they did half the binder first, and then they left the area till the spring to finish to reclaim. So we were there for the first phase of binder. Second phase of binder, they actually put that down, some of that down the same day, and then put the top down.
Was there an inspector on site as the paving process was going on the top?
Not on the top coat. We were trying to coordinate with them from June 15th was when we tried. They were originally going to try to pave for that entire week of June 15th to June, I don't have the exact, till June 26th, basically. And it was raining. If you remember, actually June 22nd and 23rd, that weekend, it was a beautiful weekend, but the whole week before it rained and the beginning of the next week that they actually paved on rained.
One last question. After you vetted this subcontractor and you used them, what happens when they have a situation like what happens in Southbridge? Is there a process where no other towns will have to put up with somebody that says, when you're told by the town engineer, don't pave, basically, we're paving?
This is not, so when you do vertical construction, there's a DCAM. You have to have a DCAM.
That's what it is.
This is not vertical, this is horizontal, so there is no process typically that, you know, you fill out a form saying they're bad. And most likely, most contractors give you good references. They're not going to give you a bad. And it's really, even when you get a bad reference, it's hard not to hire a contract.
Thank you.
Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I appreciate you coming down here tonight. I know you're a busy man. But I guess, and you probably don't have the answer for this, but I guess our concern here, and talking to other counselors and other individuals about this, is the fact that we would love to hold this company 100% accountable and being pulled up and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, it's probably not financially feasible at this point in time because the legal fees that it would cost to take them through the whole process. And this parking lot has already been delayed for about a year already. I guess it's just my concern is providing more oversight. And if it wasn't for citizens of this town, we may not have known that they were actually paving. They physically saw that paving. So I guess our concern is, well, at least my concern is the fact that taxpayer money was put into this, not only through the community grant or the compact grant, but also through our own immediate tax money here in the town. So I hope that the paving does last the equivalent of 10 to 15 years over there, but it's just one of my concerns, and I would love to hold them 100% accountable all the way through, but I think negotiation with the company and the town manager, working with DPW and PEG and all that kind of stuff, you know, everybody did their due diligence the best they could after the situation was over. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anything further? Councilor Marquetti?
I would just like to say that I agree that it ought to be, might as well just pay this. Not happy about it, but I would ask that this company never do any more work in Southbridge. Thank you. Beyond the scope of the present work. Thank you.
As long as we conform to all requirements as the mass procurement law allows. Anything further? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to read this again so we have it accurate. Vote to ratify change order number 3. B&W Paving for Central Street parking lot to decrease the contract by $14,655.25, which is a reflection of a 35% credit for compromised paving items, reducing the B&W paving contract from $795,020.50 to $780,365.26.
Mr. Chair, sorry,
What did I mess now?
you said by, it should be from.
I did.
He said from.
I said from. Thank you, colleagues. Counselor?
One quick catch, we should have caught earlier. If you're cutting it by something that is 25 cents, it should not end at 26
Yeah,
cents.
it should,
25
Yeah, there
cents?
you go, 25 cents, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. All right, roll call?
Counselor Adams? Yes. Counselor Catrona?
No.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Nash?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries. Thank you for being here tonight, appreciate it. Mike voted yes.
Yes.
Item 9, vote to confirm the appointment of Dolores LaRochelle to the Planning and Development Subcommittee effective immediately through July 31st, 2020, or until a new member is appointed.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Counselor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Known Dee Dee for quite some time. We served together on the redevelopment authority. She was recommended to come town council 3-0. Previous history again was she was part of the redevelopment authority, helping with this Central Street parking lot and a few other projects within town, and I'm highly recommending her for this position. So
Thank you. Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I'm really glad that Ms. LaRochelle submitted her application, and I'm going to support this, of course, but the only question I have is, through July 31st, 2020, or until a new member is appointed. We never had that, I don't recall, before.
That is how it is in the rules and regulations, I believe, right? I believe so.
I've never seen it like that before, because the end of the term is the 31st for, because we gave it that 1 month, because it used to be in like July 1st, June 30th they would end because of the fiscal year, but because of the income in town council, right, we gave it that extra month, so we only extended it until the end of July. We never had or until somebody else is confirmed or appointed.
Councilor Nash?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm hoping that my memory doesn't have to be relied on tonight because Councilor Steves has the rules and regulations where this is stated, but it is my recollection too that the way that it's worded is through July 31st, but nothing shall prohibit the committee for recommending reappointment. But I don't think it means that they continue to serve.
Councilor Steves?
Specifically, it does say, it's Rule 4A, says that appointments of citizen members to town council subcommittees shall be for terms ending July 31st or until new members are appointed.
Yep.
My mistake? Thank you.
Thank you.
I've never seen it like that before, though. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Yes. Thank you, Ms. LaRochelle. Welcome aboard. Vote to confirm the appointment of Cheryl Cowett to the Southbridge Cultural Council effective immediately through June 30th, 2021 to fill a vacancy due to a member resignation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief. Cheryl is retired from the Southbridge Savings Bank. I've had a pleasant conversation with her. I believe it was one of the members of the Cultural Council, I think it was the chair actually, who asked her to serve on this community. I think she'll be a real asset. Very, very nice person who cares very much about this particular community.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Thank you to that person, Ms. Cowett, for stepping up. Vote to confirm the appointment of Carmen Rivera to the Southbridge Cultural Council effective immediately through June 30th, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Mr. Town Manager?
Yeah, this is one I didn't have to interview because she works for us. She's a great employee in our collector's office. She does a great job. Very nice that she's fluent both in English and in Spanish. Is a real asset as an employee, and I think she'll make a great member of this particular committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Thank you to Ms. Rivera. Vote to confirm the appointment of Michelle Sweeney to the Economic Development Commission effective immediately through June 30th, 2021 to fill a vacancy due to a member resignation.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. She was unanimously recommended 3-0 on the 20th of August P&D meeting. She is a real estate agent. She grew up here in the town of Southbridge. I believe she would be, if approved by the town council, she'd be the last individual on the economic team downstairs, if I'm, Mr. Town Manager? Wouldn't she be the last one if approved?
Yeah, she's the last one.
Okay. Very, very involved in the community. I know they have donated quite a bit of their time and funds to the skate park and I believe Henry Street as well. She's been involved since they've, I would say more involved now that they have opened an office here in the town. So I highly recommend her.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Stevens?
Yeah, I actually sat in on the last Economic Development Commission meeting, and they believe that there are 7 members. However, it's not referred to actually in the charter. It's under the power to appoint, the EDC is actually not even listed.
Under what?
It's not listed under the manager's power to appoint clause, under 431. For some reason, it's not in there.
Would it be in the bylaw?
It's our bylaws.
I'll look, hold on. Got that on my phone.
It's in our bylaws.
Here it says. Yeah, it's 7 members, 2 of which are alternates.
Down members?
Yeah, it's 7 members, two of them are alternates.
Okay. And as far as appointment goes?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's section, it's chapter 3-2, sorry, where'd it go? I just had a second. 3-220.
Appointed by the town manager. Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? Councilman?
So, who brought forward the recommendation? Was it somebody, the chairman for the commission?
I think she had conversation with the Economic Development Director. They met to talk about, but I think she's a regular talking to the Economic Development Director on a whole host of issues. She's a realtor in town and doing real estate work, so it was the Economic Development Director that told me about her. So I don't know if she went to the Economic Development Director or how that occurred, but we thought she'd be a really good asset because she's in real estate and very informed, has a network of alliances all throughout town and the business community.
Okay, so she recommended her to you?
That's the point. I don't know if
It says in
she
our
recommended
bylaws.
me, she came,
Councilman? He's answering the
she
question.
applied on the form, so she brought in the form. I know the Economic Development Director and her talked, but I don't know if she was recommended by her and asked her to join the committee or if she voluntarily did it. I just know that they discussed and talked about it. The Economic Development Director thought she was a good person to be on the commission. I just don't know who went to who first.
My question was, you're the one that's recommending her for the
Yes,
appointment?
yes.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Vote to transfer $8,553 from the school workers' compensation insurance account number 0940000.517000.300 to town workers' compensation insurance account number 0940000.517000 to cover the cost of the fiscal year 2019 workers' compensation insurance for the town.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Just as a matter of transparency to my colleagues on the council, I know you have a memo here from Karen Hanois. She had approached me. She had already paid this invoice because there was a savings of $17,636 to the town. So she needed to make the payment prior to it coming here before council. Given the fact that it is a amount of savings, we have to work on this transfer policy because I think all would agree that we would want to save as much money as we could by doing a good, responsible fiduciary accounting. So that's why it's already been done, but she's asking for the transfer now. So I think in this case, when you save $17,000 and we count every penny to the taxpayer, it was a wise course of action. So I hope you'll indulge that course of action. And it goes to show that we do have to continue working on that policy. Okay, any questions, comments on that? Thank you. Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quick, and nothing on what you have done, but if this is what we're going to do, then we need to hold council meetings. If we have to do it at the last second, then, you know, give us our 48 hours or it's an emergency or whatever it may be, until we get the transfer policy taken care of, then this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So,
I agree.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Steves.
Yeah, just a quick observation. I actually didn't get that memo in my packet.
It should be item 13, should be in the
From
packet.
Karen.
From Karen.
Oh, there it is. We got it. I found it.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Vote to ratify the contract between the Town of Southbridge and Clear Channel Outdoor for an outdoor billboard advertising the substance abuse prevention campaign beginning the week of September 30th, 2019, for a total amount of $3,250.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Council Manna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just a couple things. It just says through September 30th, 2019. It doesn't give an end date. And I want to know, is the money in the substance abuse account for this?
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager?
So it's a 2-month contract, so it's 2 months from that date. The money is in the account, yes.
It's 2 months, you said?
It's a 2-month contract. It's going to be 1 month in English and 1 month in Spanish.
Councilor Steves?
Yeah, I remember you mentioned at subcommittee that this was coming from the funds that we had set aside last year. How much is left in that account?
I guess I don't have the number in front of me, but I will say this to you. The budget for this year will bring it down to almost zero for what we're doing this year, which is, you know, the stuff we're doing for the October week, the Red Ribbon Week, for this, for the flyer. Our budget puts us down to zero. So this wasn't really intended to be a one-year budget when you gave us money. We've stretched it out to make it 2 years. So next year I'd be coming back if we want to continue this program and looking for additional funds.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Item 16, vote to support the fiscal year 2021 Emerald Forest Borderlands Forest Legacy Project proposal and authorize the town council chair to sign the letter in support of same.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Steves.
I just want to clarify for the people who are watching that this agenda item is kind of weirdly phrased. That what we're talking about is saying that the town will support the concept of putting conservation restrictions on 2 properties. One of them is on Alpine Drive, and the other is over on Blackmore Road. I can't remember exactly what the total acreage is, and it's in this pile of stuff, and I'm not going to honestly dig through it. But the whole concept is that it's part of what's called the Emerald Forest Borderlands Project, which is it's a cooperation of several regional towns, Opakam, Last Green Valley, I think it's the U.S. Forest Service and a couple of other agencies, to help protect as much open space along the Connecticut and Massachusetts borderland as possible to help protect water supplies and a variety of other issues. And almost by coincidence, our watershed is more or less right in the middle of it. And one of these particular properties, the one on Alpine, borders our Cohasset Brook Reservoir property. So I think that's probably the biggest, for me, that's the biggest reason to protect this property.
Any further discussion? Councilor Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did read through this entire packet. It's substantive and substantial, if you don't mind me saying. But I also would like to question why we have letterhead, Office of the Town Manager, and the town council chairman's signature at the bottom. I thought we might want to revisit that and then also correct the fonts, which vary, as well as sign this there. This should be date. And I'd also like to ask where the verbiage came from for the second paragraph that follows purpose. Was that something that was drafted by the council or from a template?
It was proposed when they came before the subcommittee. That was the language that was given to us,
Okay.
asked to, for a format type letter, or a standard letter that they send out in relation to that. What had happened is it had gone down to the Conservation Office. They had drafted the letter, put all the pertinent parts in, forwarded it up to Town Manager's Office. We asked them to put it on letterhead.
Right.
So we can certainly change the letterhead to make sure it reflects properly and make sure the fonts are correct. Appreciate that. But that was the language that was presented to us and requested that we put forward. There's also going to be one letter, I believe, from the Conservation Commission itself, so.
Thank you. If I may follow, I'm not opposed to this, but when I read that purpose statement, I find it hard to believe that as an individual, I'm a strong supporter of this when all I know is what's presented to me in the packet. I wasn't able to attend a meeting, and I've never heard of this program before. It does present future binding restrictions on these parcels, correct? These affect watersheds, I get it.
Yep.
Just not a big fan of the verbiage that was presented,
Yep.
Especially where, as I said, as an individual, I can't say I'm a strong supporter of this, as the letter indicates. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay. And in response to the second half of this, it would certainly come before council to even accept it. This is just to get it in the pipeline. It's possible that we may not even be considered for this.
Sure.
So, but we would definitely, the gentleman that came before us stated that it definitely would come back to council to be vetted out with whatever contract it would be, and strongly suggested it goes to our attorneys for review and all that. This was just to support the application itself.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Town Manager?
Councilor Nash, I'm just not sure I understood your comment about the signatures. This is just a letter, and it's fine that this is really a reflection of the town council's opinion. That's enough to get this program started. When the actual restriction comes through, I probably will be a signatory on that, but I don't think it's necessary on this. Happy to if the council wants me to, but for this point, he said it wasn't necessary, it's just the council for it, if that's what you were asking.
I think in response to Councilor Nash's thing, he's looking at the letterhead itself, that it should be
Oh,
to the town of Southbridge Town Council as opposed to the Office of the Town
He's
Manager.
something like that?
We probably have something.
We probably don't have that.
something.
I don't think.
And that we clean up the font. Councilor Lazo?
Does our Conservation Commission weigh in on this?
They have, yes, they have. Yeah. It had gone through the Conservation, Council Steves may be able to answer that better than I am, because he is the conservation guru on council.
I mean, if you want actually more specifics, Maureen is here in the audience if you want to ask more specific details, because I wasn't at that meeting. But from what I understand, yeah, it went through Jen O'Hop and somebody else from Opacum made the presentation because Ed could not make that night. But he came to our subcommittee meeting. And that they specifically discussed the Para property, which is the Alpine Drive property. But they didn't specifically discuss the Morneau property, which is currently it's currently owned by Opacum, but leased by a farmer who farms part of it, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is including both of them. And it was a little bit of, I guess, from what I said, it was a little bit of confusion with conservation because they were specifically discussing just the Alpine Drive property. So we're putting up this letter to cover both of them because that was the general intent, but they forgot to actually vote on the Morneau property. So that'll probably come up to conservation at some point in the future. This, as the chairman mentioned, this is just to get it into the pipeline and let the federal people know, the Forest Service know that we're interested in this. And when the details come down, if you've read the packet, there's a lot of legal verbiage in there that will be tweaked to suit these particular properties and the specific details of what the town and Conservation Commission will end up doing. And then we will be able to decide what we actually want it to look like at that point. Also, quick technicality in the letter, it says Alpine Street, it should be Alpine Drive.
Thank you.
In the second paragraph.
Mr. Chairman, on a second question, was there any opposition by any abutters or anybody, interested parties? Was there any discussion? Because again, I share the same thing as Councilor Nash. I know it's near the watershed land, we have a filtration plant, but I'm interested in what some of the people that are directly involved with this, like our Conservation Committee and abutters, was there a discussion, public hearing, anything like that? Was that the gear to come?
I couldn't answer it, but
I wasn't there either. I couldn't
Okay.
answer that.
we couldn't answer that.
I mean, can you?
Can you come to the podium, please?
Yeah, 'cause I wasn't there.
Maureen Doyle, Conservation Commission. You could ask Eric Rumsey, but it was a public hearing. We didn't hear from any abutters. I don't even know if there are any abutters. I'm not so sure about the Morneau property on Blackmore Road. But up on Alpine Drive, I know there's one person who bought a home that abuts their property. But this is called a conservation restriction that they're putting it in. And there are minutes from that meeting that may enlighten you guys. And Eric Rumsey isn't here, but he would, as our conservation agent, he would be better first.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Reading through this, it looks like the conservation restrictions are purchased by the United States, the U.S. Forest Service, from the landowner, and they're compensated market value for the development rights of their property. That's, so are they're purchasing the land, basically, is what they're just purchasing the development rights?
Right.
Okay, and so now comes the question, I guess, for me. So landowner, and I saw at the back of the letter that the Power family, they supported this for their land on Alpine Drive. But so the land is the owners,
Yes.
but the development of that is now the U.S. So what if they ever wanted to sell that land?
Mr. Town Manager?
Okay, so they could sell it with the restriction in place, but the restriction in place is forever. So that since the federal government owns that restriction, even if they transfer the land, that restriction would have to stay in place.
So, and it's totally different from the 61A and
Yep.
stuff, yes. So, interesting. But this is only, you said there was a public hearing, but this is only the beginning stages. Nothing's been set in place, and this is going to go back down to the conservation.
I would assume it would go back down to conservation at some point whenever they get they got all their paperwork in line. I'm not sure what the time frame for that would be. Did Jen or anybody say
Jen
that?
Ohop and Howie Fife were saying that they have a deadline of September 9th to get all this paperwork in. So that's why they needed Conservation Commission approval, Town Council approval, to submit their application.
Right.
So, if I may continue, Mr. Chair. So this isn't approval, this is just a letter of support.
Correct.
So we're just supporting this, we're not approving anything. It would just
Correct.
come back to us
Correct.
for approval.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Town Manager?
So I just want to talk a little bit, Mr. Lazo's point. So,
Council Lazo.
I'm sorry, Councilor Lazo's point. Usually there's a public hearing and you talk about abutters, that's when you're actually developing land. This is kind of reverse of that, right? So the property owner always continues to own that land, but now you can't develop on it. Like as I say, most of your land use things, because you're going to develop on it, it's going to have impact on your neighbors. That's when you have public hearings and you have abutters and all that. This is not that case. It'd be highly unlikely that somebody would want to protest that you can't develop the land next to them. The only person that would have a real serious concern is the owner of the property, right? The owner of the property is the one that's working with the federal government to allow the restriction. But the only person in theory getting hurt from this is the owner of the property who can no longer develop it. So that's a wish of them. So that's why you don't really see the public hearings, you don't see the abutters being involved, because the abutters aren't going to be impacted. The property's going to stay just as it is, right? That's the concept there.
Any further discussion? Councilman?
Thank you. Just one last thing. It seems like the Para family, like I said, in the back, they support this, so they're supporting the conservation.
Right.
So, I mean, and I've never heard of this program either. But, you know, I guess it does restrict the owner too, like if they wanted to, like, would it restrict them if they like bought snowmobiles or ATVs to ride on the property? Because the property's still theirs. Or if they wanted anyone else to ride on the property.
So I think the restriction is against development, not against
Just
passive,
development.
passive recreation or things like that.
Okay.
But you couldn't develop the land, so I don't think I think the owner could do that. As a matter of fact, I think there was talking about farming could be done on one of the properties because the land trust owns it, there's already a farmer working on it. So I think it really, we're specifically talking about development rights, not for
Okay.
conservation uses.
Okay, thank you.
Council Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to answer, or help answer Councilor Mana's question. One thing that was brought up, can they put hiking trails down there, down the road, or whatever? They said yes. They can develop. Opacum would be responsible for taking care of it.
Right.
Thank you. That's all I
Council Steves?
Yeah, just to clarify also, you mentioned the farming, and that one of the things that the program works on is that if there is an existing, like for example, an existing kind of agricultural use, that is often allowed to continue. However, they will not, I don't believe the Para property would be allowed to farm it because it doesn't exist as a farm now. But the Morneau property can because it is.
Grandfather.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Council Nash opposed? Thank you. Council's forum, start with Council Lazo. Council Lazo?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I did have one question. A citizen approached me that applied for a citizen membership on PPP, and the person was the first person to apply for it, from what I understand, and has not yet been on to PPP. So I was asked, where is that at?
It goes to the first PPP meeting that's scheduled, I would imagine, right?
I was waiting for more.
Okay.
I don't have, I'm waiting for more.
Well, if you have somebody, you should put them through at least a vet at your next scheduled meeting.
Yep,
Okay?
I will put them on when I feel fit. And I understand what you're saying. I was waiting for more of a competition, like more of a pool, but.
Well,
yes.
with all due respect, we fill these as people apply. So if you have somebody and you have a meeting scheduled, it's respectful at least to put them on your agenda to, as a recommendation to council. That would be my feeling. It's disrespectful to anybody that would want to put their name forward that we don't at least get them at least to the subcommittee to be vetted. You could always get a positive or negative recommendation, but they should come up as soon as they come in. I know we don't have a policy on that. Perhaps that's something we have to revisit.
Well, my
Councilman.
question is, this is something new to me, citizen members to a subcommittee. Last time I served, there wasn't any such thing, and now there is. So for me, I'm like, if somebody first applies for a position, does the person get the position? If somebody else comes in after? I mean, how does it work in the past? I don't know, is what I'm saying. So when the resident asked me, I turned around and said, I didn't know, it's not my subcommittee, but my names came forward, and the first two names came forward, had experience, were good, and we put them forward at the first meeting. And then I got this phone call saying, hey, did you vote me last night? And I said, it dawned on me, but it wasn't my subcommittee, so that's why I'm asking. I don't know what the past practice has been.
Yeah, so I can't talk about past practice, but again, it goes to a process question that perhaps we need to visit through general government.
So it's fair to say his name will be on the next PPP?
The PPP chairman sets that agenda. I would recommend that if there's candidates, they should be at least put forward on that agenda. That's my belief. I mean, we are now into September, but having said that, it is something that should be looked at in general government because, okay, the first two people that come in right on July 1, we appoint them right on July 1, and then there's other people that come forward that may have been considerate. Those appointments go through July 30th. So do we develop a process or a policy that says, you know, we will take applications up until a certain date, and all those candidates can be vetted throughout, because, there may be other citizen members that said, hey, I put my name in, how come I didn't get considered? So it's something worthwhile, I think, that general government should look at, to have, so we can fill these positions. Thank you, Councilor.
Thanks.
Councilor Nash?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I concur. I think we need to take advantage of volunteers when they step forward in this community.
Okay.
I don't always like the recommendations that come to council, but I think every person deserves their due, and I hope we do revisit that. And it brings up something that I've explored with Councilor Steves in the past, and hopefully we can revisit it this year. We referred to the council rules and regulations again tonight, which I still think need significant cleaning up. I've brought this up before. Unfortunately, I haven't been the person to lead the charge, but I am willing to participate. Enough on that. I wanted to thank, because I didn't take the opportunity during the first meeting, Mrs. LaPriori and Mr. Montigny for stepping forward to seek appointment to the school committee. Each has very valuable credentials and perspectives, and I'm grateful for that. I'd like to think that my vote tonight was worthwhile, because I'd love to see the school committee establish that relationship that was bantered about here this evening. It obviously opens a bigger topic when it comes to the position that we're in with our schools and the receivership. I don't care to explore that any further tonight, but I am glad that we had good consideration of two quality candidates, and it doesn't at all reflect how I respect the candidate that wasn't appointed. She actually brings a lot to the table, and I'd love to see her continue, because not only does she show up, she speaks up, she actually has conversations, and she listens to my opinions and my perspective. So, Kathy, please do continue. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Steves?
First off, I want to kind of echo what Councilor Nash just said, because it's nice to see that both of them came forward, and we always need more people coming forward. We do have a whole bunch of vacancies for example, we still have PPP vacancies. We also have vacancies for a bunch of other subcommittees or other committees and boards that you can check on the town website to see exactly what's available. So thank you for coming forward, both of you. And also, so I want to just comment on a couple of quick things. First off, actually in our minutes, it mentions under the chairman's announcements, it mentions the email from the Bay Path, but I never got that. Could you send that over to me, Jack?
I may not. I'll get that out.
Okay. And
that's on the
it was on the
assessment,
on the
property
residential exemption.
Okay.
Yeah. And also I wanted to say kudos to Gateway for their presentation of Stranger in the Attic on Friday. It was a good, nice turnout. It was a good play. It was fun to watch. So thank you for doing that. And last but not least, I also wanted to point out that for those of you who might remember that we had the bicentennial a couple of years ago, our cards are finally in. They were actually literally hijacked by China for a while, which is ridiculous, but they were. And so if you take a look at them, you can see that there's a whole bunch of really cool historical photos of various things around town, various people. Some of them were from the town's own archives, some of them were from the library archives, some for private collections, all kinds of stuff. So lots of neat little historical things going on in here. And they are available if you are interested. So they're $10 a deck, $20 if you want 2 of them, and 3 Christmas ornaments, which we still have a pile of them from the bicentennial. And so, if you have any interest, you can contact Francine in the assessor's office for them, because she's here all the time. Or you can contact any of us who are on the who are members of the committee, or you can call me since I'm here. And I'm also on the website. You can email us and we can get them to you. And they'll be available in various places when we figure out where they're going. So that's all I had for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So for the vacancies on the PPP, I was waiting for more applications to come in. And technically, we really only probably have 1 vacancy if we're going by council rules, and the vacancy is filled once the person is on the committee until that vacancy is filled. So I will ask around too to get some more applicants in. Also, I respect the town manager's commitment to the substance abuse program. I think it's great. We do need to battle that. That is a problem. But we can't forget about the other problems that we have here in Southbridge, too, and that's one of them huge is domestic violence. And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, along with your Red Ribbon Week. So if we could highlight that as well in the upcoming weeks and maybe get some purple ribbons or some pins or something out there, or anything from like maybe New Hope or something to promote that and get the information out there for the victims, that would be tremendous. Also, I'm thankful to see the Scholarship Committee sent a little memo and what they do and how much was given out over the last 3 years. I'd also like to see how much is left over in the scholarship funds, because that's pretty important. And I think that is it. Thank you.
Councilor Cutrone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town manager. There's a public hearing on September 9th at 1:30 in the afternoon coming up for the relocation of a pole on Mechanic Street and adding 8 additional poles and relocating 3 poles on Crescent Hill Road. I'd like to see if these meetings, for the convenience of the residents of Southbridge, can be moved, if the time can be changed from 1:30 and have one in the evening as well.
So the answer is, we absolutely can look at that and try to do it on Thursday night and see if we can do it that one night. Truthfully, I think in the 4 years I've been here, I've never seen anybody come. I think 1 or 2 people maybe, but I'd be happy to do it on Thursday night so we can take care of that, yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you. Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just 2 things. We are looking for somebody else on the P&D subcommittee. Please put your application in. I appreciate Dee you volunteering. Congratulations this evening. And I just want to put that out there. I know quite a few citizens that asked me. I thought a lot of these were kind of filled up, so shame on me, but obviously there's some more spots out there. And if there's 2 of you that apply for P&D, then we will vet that through the subcommittee and then go to the town council with it. And last thing is curbside advisory committee. I know I didn't brief that this evening, the first part of this evening. We did have Waste Zero come in, give us a great presentation, which can, I think, benefit the town a little bit. It's a pay-as-you-throw program, but we're going to be working on that with Councilor Marchetti and Councilor Steves and a few others. But it was a great presentation they gave us, eye-opening, great education, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Marchetti?
Okay, I've mentioned the same blight and public safety problems in town every council meeting that I've been on since coming onto this council. The open trench for a drainage project on Maria Avenue is still not completed and covered.
Maria Avenue? I'm sorry,
On Maria Avenue, yep. And to complicate matters, an abandoned empty lot across the street from that trench. It spills mud onto the sidewalk, into the street, and into a drainage basin whenever it rains. This has gone on for almost a year. The construction project on Main Street, still not completed. Garbage continues to pile up in the back. I did see a dumpster there today, so I appreciate that they're working on it. Some of my constituents have asked me, why would the town spend $1.5 million, that's about what it's going to take, to finish that Central Street parking lot next door to a burnt-out building in order to enhance the aesthetic value of that lot, while, and I quote, allowing an S-hole next door to molder on. The scaffolding on Building Street, on the building on Crane Street has been changed. They removed the 1-ton jack. Now it's being supported. They're supporting the balcony with blocks and 2x4s, and it still looks like an accident waiting to happen, in my opinion. And finally, the handicap access ramp and the entrance and the elevators at the town hall need some work. It's almost impossible to navigate and dangerous for a handicapped person to attempt to gain access to the town hall. 2 years ago, I sat on Councilor O'Clair's Subcommittee, Planning and Development, and we voted to appropriate a CDBG grant for $35,000 to improve the rear handicap entrance, and I was wondering whatever happened to that appropriation. Now, it may be that the council and town officials are becoming weary about me raising these problems, but I intend to raise them at every single council meeting until I get some action on resolving the problems. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti, in regards to that rear entrance, I know that I had a conversation, and you can follow up with DPW Director Blakely, but when the town hall was closed for the asbestos issue, we were outside, and there's an oil tank underneath that area, and they're looking to have that tank removed in order to, so it is in a pipeline, but it does warrant follow-up. I know there was money appropriated to that, and I know that we're working on how to address that tank in order to get the best solution for that ramp. So I know it's being worked on, but perhaps we can get a status update on that through maybe DPW, Councilor Nash.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
We have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday night at 6 p.m. I'm sure I'll brief Heather to ask for a response.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councilor Daniel?
Yes, I'd also like to congratulate Ms. Lapiori and Mr. Montigny for taking the time to be here tonight, for seriously considering being members of the school committee. They may not have much in the way of power, but they do represent the citizens. I think it's an important committee, one that citizens shouldn't just shirk. And the fact that these two citizens came forward to become members of the committee, I think is important and speaks to a larger issue which I've harped on in the past, which is we still need citizens to come forward. We've had some discussion just recently this evening about membership in subcommittees. The problem isn't going away. We need citizen involvement. We need to hear what citizens have got to say. The government does not run except through the citizens. That's the hallmark of our democracy and our republic. And I encourage the public to come forward and let us know what's going on, not only so we can talk about issues during council forum, but also so that you can have a say into exactly what it is that's going on. It's vitally important. I can't say it enough, and I will continue to harp on that. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 9th, 2019, at 7 p.m. here in council chambers.
Thank you. Okay, we have a vote to go into executive session according to, I am going to hold on A because it's not properly formatted. B, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 2, which should read, the essence of this is correct, so there's no issues with it, but be to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, which would be the town manager's contract. And the chair does declare that, and we will return to open session for the purposes of adjournment only. Is there a motion?
So,
Second.
Yes, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, just one comment, just to let council members know. I've talked with the chairman of the town council, and he said for me not to be at this particular meeting, so I just want you to know that it's not where I'm just leaving, that there's a reason for me not being here, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had a motion and a second. Roll call.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Nash?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good
Has a concern of the September